Hey everyone, I'm the Pixel Pathfinder, and my goal is to help you find great new indie games to play. With that goal in mind, in 2024 fast approaching, I wanted to take some time to showcase games that I've wishlisted or followed that are scheduled to come out 2024 or later that I'm pretty excited about. This is not a comprehensive list of all the games that I'm keeping an eye on, but just some highlights from the huge number of games that I've been keeping an eye on myself. And I want to share them with you in the hopes that you can find something to get excited about, maybe to follow or wish list in the coming year. So today we're going to be taking a look at the games that start with a C, D, or an E, and we're going to start things off with a quick honorable mention for Combo Card Clashers. Now, Combo Card Clashers is a game I've already made a video for here on the channel, so you can check that out if you want to, so I won't spend a lot of time on it. I'll just say I've played the demo a couple of times already, enjoyed it every single time. It's not the most beautiful game on this list by any means, but the gameplay loop is a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to being able to check out the expanded version once we do get some sort of release, whether that's early access or whether that's, like a full 1.0. All right, getting into some games that have caught my attention and I'm just kind of keeping an eye on. We're going to start here with Castle Manager. So Castle Manager, I believe this had a demo during the last Next Fest, but I did not get a chance to check it out. Hopefully they'll bring it back around for the Next Fest coming up February 2024. And if they do, I'll be looking forward to getting a chance to try this out. So this is a game where you manage a castle. What a surprise. It's in the title, right? But a couple of interesting things here stand out for me. So first off, you have the sort of side view of the castle with the cutouts, and you're going to be building different rooms, the kitchen, the armory, the stables. But there's also like a lot of other like mini games and strategy elements here, from trying to craft potions to doing a little bit of a kind of a battles and takeovers. There's a lot of other stuff that's going on in addition to just managing the castle itself. I think the graphics look pretty good, and this is just one that I think has kind of a lot going on and a lot of potential. So I'm wanting to keep an eye on it as we go into 2024. The next game on this list is called Crab God, Mother of the Tide. Now, this is one that I've kept an eye on because my wife also likes to play God games. Not really my cup of tea, but I try them out every now and again. And this one looks really interesting because you're not doing the typical control primitive people sort of God game setup that's normally out there. Instead, you're kind of playing as the god of crabs underwater, and so you're building out a coral reef, adding different types of coral, different types of fish, but ultimately the sort of like population that you're in control of is a bunch of adorable looking crabs. So this is something a little bit different. I think this puts a really good twist on the god game genre, and for that reason I'm keeping an eye on it moving forward. The next game on the list here is going to be Creature Keeper. Now, Creature Keeper is a monster taming game where you're going to go around and you're going to collect monsters, and then you fight alongside them, kind of like Pokemon or something like that. It's also got a little bit of some kind of Stardew Valley-ish elements added into it. You don't farm or anything like that, but you do have like a pocket garden that you put stuff into and kind of do a little inventory management thing in there. With that, so that you can get like power-ups and supplies. You have to feed your pets and your creatures and things like that. Another cool aspect here is the combat style is like Zelda type stuff. Even though you're playing with these creatures, they kind of battle alongside you with like NPC skills as if they were a Zelda character. So pretty interesting. I think this has potential to be pretty fun if you like Zelda, you like Pokemon, and maybe you like some light, like really light simulation elements thrown in there as well. That all sounds really cool to me. I like a lot of those aspects, so I'm looking forward to checking out Creature Keeper in the future. The next game here is called Cube de Grace, and this one is a mix of a RPG and like a collectible card game. This one I think just looks like it's putting together some interesting mechanics here, where essentially you're kind of playing in what appears to be, I don't know, almost turn-based combat, but I'm not sure if the tokens that they show are representative of your character in a turn-based setting, or just kind of like your character in a tabletop setting. I'm not really sure, but there's lots of dice involved. It just looks really interesting, like there's a lot of moving parts and things to consider. It's got a different art style and different iconography than what you normally see in a lot of these games. And so for that reason, I'm just kind of keeping an eye on it. I want to try it out. I want to test it out, see what it's all about. It could be absolutely terrible. I don't know. It just looks interesting. The next game on my list here is going to be Dwarf Delve. Now, this is one I don't know a whole lot about. I've mostly just looked at the trailer and saw that it is first person. It looks very similar to like Minecraft. The graphics here are really, really nice. And that being said, you're going to play as a dwarf who's trying to go down into, the ground like dwarves do in pretty much everything. And you're trying to get down there and discover new materials so that you can craft better and better stuff. So it's got that crafting loop to it. Like I said, the visuals look really great. There's a couple of screenshots and things later on where you have like here, like your workshop room set up, and you kind of get to build out this nice little area for all your stuff. And I don't know why, but this I really like, this sort of like base building-y type thing that's going on here. I really hope this is like a customizable thing, not just sort of like a base, but you get to build this out yourself. And for some reason, it reminds me kind of the base building that was in Fallout 4, which I really, really enjoyed. And so for that reason, I just want to keep an eye on this here. I really do enjoy base building, and I think the graphics will look pretty sweet. And then the last little curiosity game here for me is going to be Everafter Falls. Now, Everafter Falls is pretty much a farming simulation game, so it's going to play very similar to something like Stardew Valley. However, this one looks like it's, got some different stuff going on. It definitely has some fantasy elements to it, so that's a part of it for sure. We see ghosts, giant frogs. There's also a couple of interesting things going on with this one where you have like a pet that follows you around all the time and can do some stuff for you. And then also there's this system where you can like kind of use drones to like build buildings and do some of the work for you as well. Overall, I don't know if this is a game I'll end up really playing myself, but it does look like it has potential, and it's looking like it's doing a couple of different things, especially thematically compared to some of the other farming sim games that are out there. So I wanted to mention it for anyone who is a fan of the genre. All right, moving into some games that I'm actually decently excited about here. We're going to start with Cataclismo. So Cataclismo is a base building RTS tower defense game where you essentially get to build out your defenses brick by brick as if you were using Legos. So you have, resources and things that you're going to gather to craft your defenses. And then on top of that, you're going to have different units that you're going to be using and upgrading and stuff that are going to serve as the aggressive portion of your defense. So you have the walls and all that kind of stuff that plays the defense. And then you have your units that are actually working on destroying the hordes of enemies that are going to swarm you every single night. And in the meantime, you're going to be building up your town, acquiring new resources, etc., etc. I really like tower defense games, even though I have a preference for games that allow you to go like third person and contribute to destroying the waves. Cataclismo has a pretty awesome art style, really nice character portraits, and just overall looks like a really solid tower defense package. I haven't seen a whole lot of tower defense games come out recently that I thought looked very intriguing, but I like Cataclismo a lot, so I want to keep an eye on it. The next game on the list here is going to be Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. So Deep Rock Galactic Survivor is a bullet heaven style game like Vampire Survivors, but it's set in the Deep Rock Galactic universe. Deep Rock Galactic is a first-person co-op, basically dwarven delving sort of game that's very popular, very well supported, highly reviewed, and it's just a really solid game in general. And because of the pedigree of the developer of Deep Rock Galactic and them being the ones that are working on Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, I just have a lot of confidence that this game is going to be good. I actually did play the demo for this at the previous Next Fest, and I have a video ready for that that'll be up on the channel sometime in the future, so you can check it out yourself. But this is one that, I'm pretty excited about. I think it has a lot of potential. I will say the demo I played was fine. It wasn't like amazing, didn't blow me out of the water. But again, with this developer and their pedigree and the amount of support that they provided for their previous game post-launch, I can't help but imagine the Deep Rock Galactic Survivor is going to end up being a really awesome package. Next game on the list here is going to be Devil Peach Soda. So I like it when games combine traditional older games and remix them into something a little bit new. And Devil Peach Soda is one here that takes kind of like that bubble pop sort of formula and turns it into an RPG. I think it looks really, really good, really interesting. This is exactly the kind of game I can sink my teeth into and get into like in a casual way, but still sink hours and hours into. And so I'm really looking forward to getting to check this one out. I just think it looks like a lot of fun. The graphics are great. However, there was some news here way back in September 7th saying that the early access release was delayed to the 15th. And as of the recording of this video, we are at the tail end of November. There's been no news, no announcements, no nothing. So I don't know if this is going to be a victim of development hell or what the case is, but we haven't heard anything about this game coming out yet. So I can just hope that it comes out sometime in early 2024 in early access. We'll have to see. All right, the next game on the list is going to be Dice Gambit. Now, Dice Gambit is one that kind of caught my eye. I think graphically the game is interesting. It's not necessarily my favorite in terms of the actual like battle graphics and everything, but the concept of the game is really cool. I do think it's well animated, even if the art style isn't necessarily like my favorite in this setting, but it's going to be a turn-based tactics game where you're also going to be rolling dice and combining dice in order to utilize your abilities and your skills and upgrade them, which is great. That's fine. We've seen that in a couple games before, but the catch with this one is that there's this whole element of building a noble family alongside what you're doing in combat. And so your noble family becomes the units that you can recruit into your party to fight with. So you have to, basically do all this sort of noble matchmaking and air generating and etc. in order to provide yourself with a pretty nice combat team. So to me, that seems really interesting and really different. It's a combination of something that I do like, which is going to be, turn-based tactics and dice rolling, with something that I don't typically get into very much, which is the whole like political errors and matchmaking, dating sim kind of stuff. And I always like when two things like that get combined because it gives me an opportunity to get into maybe a genre or some mechanics that I don't normally play with in a setting that's going to feel a little bit more palatable to me. So I'm actually really looking forward to trying this game out. The next game here is going to be Dungeons of Hinterberg. Now, this is one that just kind of looks interesting. I don't know a whole ton about it other than you're going to be kind of exploring, I think, an open world. And this is going to be sort of a dialogue-heavy, puzzle-heavy sort of game here, but it also does have a solid amount of combat. The art style is unique for sure. Again, I don't know if it's like my favorite necessarily, but that being said, I remember watching the trailer for this game back during the Game Awards in the summer and thinking that it looked pretty interesting, actually. And this trailer here doesn't show a whole lot. For the most part, it shows like exploration and puzzle solving, but doesn't really get a lot into the combat. And the combat is kind of what stood out to me. There are some like relationship aspects in this game as well. And this is one that, again, I just think it looks pretty solid. I want to see if I can get to a little bit of the combat here. Like here's some exploration, looking pretty solid. And here's some different types of combat and stuff. So the combat looks pretty interesting, I think. The next game on the list is going to be Enshrouded. Enshrouded was kind of one of the big hits from the previous Next Fest. This is a open world survival crafting game. I downloaded the demo and then actually didn't play it, but this has gotten some really good reviews and really good feedback from players. It does look really promising, actually. There's some fantastical elements to it, but there's definitely a lot of what you would come to expect from survival crafting games. You got to gather resources and build things and keep yourself alive. Now, for me personally, I'm really into base building and I'm really into combat and exploration. So in those sorts of games, these open world survival crafter games, that's what I look for. The combat in Enshrouded looks pretty solid. The base building also looks really good. And the exploration side of it, to me, looks really cool too, because we have diverse environments, diverse enemies to fight, and diverse flora and fauna to experience. So it really does kind of look more like a open world survival crafting version of like Skyrim or Elder Scrolls, which to me makes it really, really appealing. So I'm actually really excited to check this one out. Maybe the next time they put a demo out, I'll actually play it. And then the last game in this section here is going to be Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. Now this game is a classic JRPG 2.5D art style, similar to Octopath Travelers. And this one is kind of harkening back to old school RPGs. It reminds me a lot of a game called Suikoden, which I played back on, I want to say PlayStation 1. But the thing with this one is that there's just a huge roster of playable characters. Usually that 100 heroes means there's literally going to be 100 heroes for you to play as here. The graphics on this look really cool, and one of the things that I really like about this is that in spite of the old school sort of JRPG influence and inspiration here, the characters that we see in the game not only have great avatars, but they have great in-game sprites as well. When they're in battle, they actually look like their character. They're not like chibied down versions or anything like that. So I'm really excited to check this game out. I really do like when there's so many characters that you can kind of really create your own customized team. Also, a lot of the character designs here just look like really interesting and unique, like the shark people that we just saw earlier. So keeping a close eye on this one. All right, moving into games that I am really, really excited about. We're going to kick things off with Demonschool. Demonschool is a tactical RPG where motion equals action. Essentially, the way I read this is it's kind of like Into the Breach, if you're familiar with that. Either way, Demonschool has a really unique aesthetic that we don't get to see a lot. It's kind of like a dark anime vibe. There's going to be sections of the game where you're like at the Demonschool doing different things, kind of like Persona, I would imagine, but hopefully not quite as in-depth. And then you're going to go out into your battles and you're going to fight. And it's interesting because the premise behind the combat here is that you will actually kind of queue up everybody's actions and execute them all at once. So what you do with one character to maybe push an enemy could influence how your next character lands their attack on that enemy. So this just looks really cool. It looks really interesting. It's a turn-based tactical combat system that's trying to do something different. On top of that, the theme and the aesthetic is one that we just don't see very often. So I'm really excited about it. It gives me Shin Megami Tensei and like Yu Yu Hakusho vibes. And those are all good things. So I'm definitely looking forward to checking this one out in 2024. The next game on the list is going to be Dark Deity II. Now, Dark Deity II is the sequel to Dark Deity, which I did not play. However, this one here is the next game in what is a turn-based tactics game similar to Fire Emblem, but instead of you having, archers, swordsmen, cavalrymen, you actually have a roster of a bunch of different unique heroes. And so you make your team out of these different heroes, and there's a lot of customization going on here, and that's really what is appealing to me about this game. Fire Emblem style games I'm okay with. They're fine, but for turn-based tactical games, for me, what really hooks me in is how much can I customize my characters and my team to make it feel like I'm using a strategy and I'm using a cast of characters that is like, uniquely mine. And it looks like you can do that in this game. So just to show a couple of the things down here, if we scroll down under the read more, so there's 20 different heroes, 45 branching classes, each with abilities, passive effects, and their own tactical niche. Then you start adding in skills, abilities, and gear that can completely change the way a unit performs in the field. and up into your tactics in a good way. So to me, that is where the appeal of this game comes in. And like right here in this screenshot, you can see this is the character sheet for one of these heroes. And this definitely does not look like a Fire Emblem character sheet. There's all kinds of stuff going on here. Abilities, stats, passives, all kinds of stuff. And so that makes this game super appealing to me, and I'm excited to check it out. The next game here is Dicefolk. Now, Dicefolk is one I'm going to have a video up here for the up on the channel here pretty soon. And this one is a interesting game where you kind of do creature collection, and it's unique in the sense that you control your side of the team and the enemy side of the team. Effectively, dice get rolled for both sides, and you have to play all the enemy dice that get rolled, and you have to play whichever dice your team rolls that you choose. And so you kind of have to decide, well, when does the enemy attack? I want to set myself up with a good defender when they're going to hit me, and different things like that. It's a really, really fun, interesting game. The monsters in this game are called Chimera, and there's actually quite a few that look pretty interesting and pretty cool. I've played the demo for this a couple of times, and unfortunately, you only get to play through the first zone, so it's pretty short, but I've really enjoyed what I've played there so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this game does as it gets closer to a release date. The next game here is going to be Die in the Dungeon. Now, Die in the Dungeon is a dice building game, essentially, where you're going to play as this hero character. You've got a bunch of dice that you can use in combat, and the way that this gets a little bit interesting is you have to essentially position your die on this sort of grid, and where you place die on this grid determines how other die are affected. So, for example, you might roll a die that gives you +2 to any die that falls within its area. So then you're trying to figure out, well, how do I position this +2 bonus die so that I can lock in the other die, and how do they fit in with everything else? So it's kind of like this interlocking puzzle. I've played the demo before, and I thought it was a lot of fun. This game actually has a prologue called Origins coming out on December 1st, which I'll be checking out and making a video for here on the channel as well. But this one has been on my list for quite a while, so I'm excited to see where this one goes for a early access or 1.0 release. All right, the next game on the list is actually going to be Drakantos, and I don't know a ton about this one other than it's going to be a free-to-play pixel art MMO RPG. Now, that's interesting. It makes me think of games like Ragnarok or Tree of Savior. Either way, the graphics here look really great. The pixel art looks really good, and while an MMO is not something that I'm normally looking to get into these days, because I'd rather spend time checking out new games and, playing the ones that I really enjoy, as opposed to feeling like I have to, work at playing a different game like it's my job. This one looks interesting enough that I really do want to check it out when it comes out and just see kind of what's going on with it. Again, I just think it looks really great, and there's something really nostalgic about like this sort of 2D pixel art MMO, and yeah, I'm just really excited to be able to check this out. And then the last game on the list here is going to be Escape the Mad Empire. Now, this is a roguelike, party-based tactical RPG that has a lot going on and looks really interesting to me. I like the graphic style, even though your characters are super tiny. I think the art style is still really solid. We've got huge procedurally generated maps. You're going to have your party of characters, real-time combat, kind of like a CRPG. And then also you're going to be able to build out a base, which seems really interesting. I like that there's sort of this meta progression that's in there. There's also like gear, items, equipment, level ups, new spells, new skills, like all this stuff that really just makes the game look super interesting. And so this is another one I'm keeping my eye on. All right, well, that's going to do it for C, D, and E for this list. Hopefully you enjoyed it and found something that you are looking forward to either following or wishlisting in 2024. 97% of you are not subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button because new content like this comes out every single week. All right, share this video with someone that's looking for good games to play in 2024. Let me know in the comments section below which games you decided to wishlist or follow, and we're going to continue this list until we get to the end of the alphabet. It's going to be a lot of videos, a lot of games, but, you know, that's what I'm here for. So thank you for taking the time to watch one of my videos, and I'll see you on the next one.